Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and we are here today to talk about The Division. We're actually actively playing The Division, but we're going to talk about the 1.4 update, and then I want to talk a little bit about the just revealed Survival DLC, and really just give you guys my feelings, my thoughts on the future of The Division. I guess a quick overview of whether or not you should make your way back into the game and check it out, and then maybe consider buying the Survival DLC when it does release, whenever that happens, potentially in the coming weeks and coming months. So 1.4 launched a couple weeks back, and I started playing it in my free time, and let's just say that I came away incredibly impressed. 1.4 was meant to be an overhaul, a revamp, a reset of the Division's core components, and also provide a few additional gameplay upgrades, gameplay improvements, and gameplay additions. It has managed to do all of that and potentially a little bit more. I mean, this is a serious revamp we're talking about here. Everything has been redone, redesigned, and rebalanced. Gear sets, skills, abilities, credits, time to kill, everything. They have not left anything untouched. And I have to say that I'm really impressed with Massive on this one, because honestly, The Division had fallen into a place where it was in desperate need of serious rebalancing. You know, they were essentially trying to fix things. They were trying to change time to kill. They were trying to give us more loot. And on that journey to make the game better, they just made everything worse. Endgame became an absolute nightmare, and the game just started to suffer in a lot of really key important areas. You know, even as I went back to it, someone who really loved what the core experience was, you know, it was obvious that a lot of things were in a bad place. And for people who were still actively playing the game, you know, that was basically no bueno. That was just like, oh yeah, this is no longer fun. This has become, you know, really quite incredibly frustrating. You know, it's as simple as that. But fortunately, 1.4 has, you know, come along, and it's, at the end of the day, it's saved the day. It's as simple as that. It has saved the day. So let's actually engage in some 1.4 activities while we're out here talking about this. You'll notice that we now have supply drops out in the open world. There have been a lot of changes to really just improve the overall gameplay experience outside of missions, outside of incursions, outside of challenges daily and weekly, to make sure that the free roaming stuff you do, the normal missions, are more enjoyable and more challenging than they ever were before. One of the ways that they did this is by adding world tiers. So if you look up in the top left corner right now, you'll notice that we have 4 tiers, each of them based on gear score. So basically, if you're a level 1 player, you'll be playing at tier 1. Moving up, you'll get tier 2. I am currently sitting in tier 3. And once I unlock gear score 199, I can make my way to tier 4. This means that in this open world, where previously there was really nothing worth doing, you can now actually receive loot that is relevant to your current gear score, that will allow you to level up, that will allow you to progress, and essentially, you know, gear up for incursions and for the higher level stuff. There no longer needs to be a mindless grind across modes that you don't want to play, or, you know, across challenges that you don't want to play with, to level up to unlock the stuff that you actually want to do. You can basically do what you want to do, and you're guaranteed to get gear. You're guaranteed to acquire the loot that you need to acquire to do the harder challenges, to do the incursions, so on and so forth. It's a spectacular redesign of the open world aspects of the game, and it kicks butt. Let's leave it at that. It kicks butt. So we can disrupt this arms deal here, or we can keep going for the supply drop. Let's tango in a little bit of combat with these level 32 guys who previously wouldn't have been this level. Let me just point that out there. And I'll give you guys a taste for the time to kill. Potentially we'll get some more loot dropping in. I just, you know, there's a wave of happiness and joy filling my body as I talk about all the positives that have happened here with 1.4. It's really genuinely been a smart update for The Division. And I'm so happy and impressed with Ubisoft and Massive, you know? The game was genuinely in a position where they could have just let it die. They could have said, you know what? The game sold really well. We made a lot of money off it. We turned a thick profit. We actually had a lot of people pay in and buy the season pass. We have their money, you know, so let's just push out the DLC. Who cares if it's broken? Who cares if the base game is a disaster? And let's just leave it at that. You know, a year from now, we'll push out the final DLC, and we won't even have to worry about it. We can just be done with it all. You know, we can just call it quits. They didn't do that, though. They really went back. They looked at the community, what the community was saying. They looked at the obvious issues that the game had. They looked at time to kill. They looked at all of the gameplay components inside of the Division, and they did what they needed to do to reset and redefine the gameplay experience. And you know what? This is the Division that I fell in love with day one. You know, this is a game that feels enjoyable, that has good combat, you know, that is a nice blend of RPG and third-person shooter, that isn't afraid to let statistics influence its gameplay to some degree, that also has a reasonable time to kill, meaning that combat feels quicker, it feels more tactical. You know, this is by no means Rainbow Six, this is by no means, you know, old Tom Clancy, but it's in a far better place than it was before. So there we go. You notice that we actually, we're just out in the open world, and we got gear, we got a green piece of gear set, and it's 204. It's relevant to our gear score. It's relevant to progressing us as a player. This is what we all wanted from the Division, and they've delivered that. So we've got a piece of the Banshee Shadow gear set. So we've got the gloves, which is going to be shotgun and pistol damage to elites, and I'm going to go ahead and equip that. It's going to bump up my gear score to 190 now. I'm out in the open world. I'm doing what I want to do, and I'm improving my character. I know I probably sound like an advertisement for Massive right now, but honestly, I've been having a lot of fun playing the Division in my free time, even solo. You know, to the point where it's like I really wish I had, you know, I still had my crew who was also willing to actively play the game. Okay, we're gonna head towards the supply drop here, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the survival DLC while we're walking through this, because at this point, I'm gonna say this: if you're someone who played the Division previously, whether or not you bought the season pass, whether or not you bought the underground DLC, you should come back to the Division. You should check it out. There is worth here. You have the HVTs. We've got open world bosses that you can now deal with and encounter. You know, you've got the new world tiers. There is enough here to warrant returning to re-experience the Division and to possibly experience the content that was introduced after you left. For example, for me, HVTs, the open world boss stuff in 1.4, obviously, that's going to explode. That was a lot of good gear we just got out of that. That was all introduced after I left the Division. So I still have content here. And if you're in the same position that I was, you can come back and experience that content at the best possible level in the best possible way. So yes, you should come back and play the Division just because of 1.4. Whether or not you want to play the Division long term and buy into DLC is definitely a different question. What do we get here? We got a nice. We got an SAG-12 shotgun. Let's go ahead and equip that in our secondary, not in our primary. Whoopsie. And we'll quickly craft this bad boy up. Where'd it go? There it is. Let's mod that real quick. When it comes to DLC, okay, let's talk quickly about survival. Survival DLC is going to be paid DLC. It's in PTS right now and testing on the PC. It is potentially going to be releasing in the next couple weeks or months, and it is essentially a DayZ-style experience inside of the Division. However, it is a self-contained experience that you will actually matchmake into. You're going to start basically with a bare-bones character. You're going to have to acquire new gear. It's session-based. So you'll start the session, you'll end the session, and it'll be its own thing. It comes in two flavors. We have PvP and PvE. That's right. It's not just focused on PvP. It's not like the Dark Zone where it's mixed. I know that's going to make a lot of people happy. You have personal player choice here. Which do you want to do? Do you want PvP? Do you want PvE? You want to play alone? You want to play with your friends? You have all of these options available to you when you hop into survival. It is also an actual survival-focused piece of content, meaning that you're actually going to be dealing with survival elements. Thirst, hunger, you're going to be dealing with the elements. Cosmetic items are no longer just cosmetic. You're going to have to acquire clothing like hats to help you stay warm during blizzards. There will be bonfires and, you know, safe houses that you'll be able to visit to keep your warmth up. And all the while, you'll also be dealing with things like sickness and, of course, other players and other AI threats. It looks awesome. It looks like the open world survival game that I've always wanted, but few games often manage to deliver. Or I should say, rarely manage to deliver. So I'm excited for it. I'm genuinely looking forward to it. We got another piece of the gear set here. It's going to drop our skill power and electronics a bit. We're going to go ahead and just hold on to that. That's pretty exciting, though. No denying that. So that was a really good drop. Those supply drops happen on occasion in the open world, and they are absolute worth. Okay. So I think we hit all the strong points here. You're going to notice there's a lot of small refinements as well. Camos now are just one camo, basically, and you can apply them in as many weapons as you want. There's a lot of creature comfort changes. You know, they've been really smart about looking at the game and saying, you know, we had a lot of big problems, but we also had a lot of small problems. Let's fix those too. Let's make sure that we refine everything. And you'll notice that in the top right corner there, we have the opportunity to also get a supply cache when we level up. They're really looking to give the player loot just in every possible way that they can. It feels a lot more like Diablo, and it's funny because I've heard a lot of developer talk and them drawing comparisons to Diablo 3, and it seems like they really are following that trend and recognizing that it's important to give the players loot. It's important to reward players for their accomplishments. They don't always have to get something of value out of those rewards, but they should be rewarded more often than not, especially in a game like The Division where there's just so many opportunities in this game, you know, to really to build different character types, you know, so there's no reason to skimp on rewarding me with gear and equipment. That's how I've always felt. So let's talk a little bit long term. Obviously, the biggest barrier for the team at Massive now, I think they've done an outstanding job. They've proven themselves as a developer that cares about the community, that cares about this game with the 1.4 update. But that doesn't put money in people's pockets. That doesn't say to people, hey, you know that survival DLC, it's free now. It is still a paid piece of DLC. So I think the question for a lot of you is whether or not that DLC is going to be worth it. I think the best way for you to decide that for yourself is to go ahead and play 1.4, to participate in this update, to see what the game has to offer, to see how it plays and feels for you, and then to use that as a benchmark, basically, to make your decision to actively purchase and play the survival DLC. Of course, if you want to be really smart, you'll wait and see what people actually have to say about it. How does it pan out? How does it feel? Is it something that has a high level of replayability, like games like DayZ and Rust? That's going to be the big long-term question. Now, I already bought into the Season Pass because I planned on covering this game for a very long time, so I'll be checking it out regardless. If you guys are interested in hearing my thoughts on the survival DLC, I'll bring them to you as soon as I have my hands on with it, which will hopefully be in the coming weeks. It's in PTS right now for the PC version, so I'm hoping that we'll see it on full release very soon. You know, it's just a matter of them seeing how it plays, you know, really making sure that it's ready to release. I know that they are not looking to have any more issues like they've had in the past with DLC. Underground DLC was a massive disappointment. You know, they really have to recover from that. Survival has to feel like a great piece of DLC. It has to feel like something that truly expands the experience that the Division already offers, that gives us something else to play, a new experience. So we'll see how that all goes over. Right now, I'm really happy and positive about the Division. I'm, you know, more than ready to, you know, check it out on occasion, to bring you guys the occasional Division video. And if the survival DLC ends up being what I think it's going to be, that'll be a fun, you know, weekly or monthly video to, you know, have little survival stints, do some PvP stuff, do some PvE stuff, so keep an eye out for that. If you guys have any other questions or concerns about the Division, I really want you to ask me. Now's the time, you know, extract all of the thoughts from my brain in regards to the Division's current state, and hopefully I can help you make a conscious decision or choice as to whether or not this is something that you reinstall, something that you go back to, something that you play in the coming months. I'm going to try and survive this because this is turning into a pretty incredible tango. One of the really big positives about, you know, reducing time to kill and, you know, essentially making sure that the player has lethality and that the enemies still have lethality is that AI flanks and AI maneuvers are far more deadly, especially when playing solo. You know, I don't have anyone to cover me here, so man, the combat just feels really good. I've been playing for, like I said, on and off for the last couple weeks now. The combat is improved. Trust me when I say this. It's not just the occasional scenario where it feels good. It really does feel good the majority of the time. Get the beat down, fool. Come on. Good thing for my ultimate ability there. All right, I'm going to finish cleaning this guys up. Once again, if you guys have any questions or concerns for me, throw them down in the comment section below. Keep an eye out for my coverage of the Survival DLC, hopefully in the coming weeks or coming months. And I will see you in the next one.